Good evening. Fred Blanchard here, Adrenaline Motorsports. You are listening to adrenaline.com at 1680 AM on your dial here at Internet Radio. It's been interesting all week. A few things to touch bases on. Of course, we had our guest on last week, Steve Montrelli of Montrelli. He's a consultant again for Nick Arias Racing Components and also Arias Pistons. He attended the PRI show, the performance show that shows all the hardcore race products, and brought in a bit of news and regarding that show. And of course, he talked quite a bit this last week about drag racing as a whole and some of the rule changes that affects the nostalgia funny car ranks and also nostalgia dragsters and some of the things that are coming up for that venue. Some of which is really critical and is very important, and I want to touch a little bit about that. Apparently they felt that the sanctioning body for the Nostalgia Group, which is the Heritage Series of Nostalgia Racing, and they have several events throughout the country, and you find a lot of the bracket cars, such as the gassers and injected fuelers and things of that nature. Then you have the hardcore guys that ran the funny cars of the day, which are basically the style of the 70s, pretty much funny cars and dragsters both. And Steve's very close to a lot of the guys that are involved with that, and very much been helpful in some of the tune-ups and things of that nature. And of course, he that's very near and dear to his heart. He was one of the major players back in the day when all this was taking place. And again, I want to thank him very much, Steve Montrelli. If you're listening, thank you very much for your assistance last week and your guidance and just being there to source out a lot of the information that you certainly have your fingers on. But we were talking about the brakes on some of these cars, that the requirement now is because of the cars are going so fast, that he decided that to share with us a little bit of information as to what the rule changers brought up. And apparently the braking systems that they would prefer to see on some of these cars are, it's a new style brake, which is carbon fiber, and they have a better braking power. And there's 3 manufacturers that produce the complete rear end and these components attached to them. But this is a major change for these guys who run Nostalgia in the early days of Nostalgia Racing when it was first introduced. It was supposed to be an inexpensive approach to this. But as you know, racers will be racers, and they'll find a way to go faster and faster and faster, and they've gone ahead and done that. And it got to the point now where it's beyond the capability of the cars that they have. And they're good cars, but they have their limitations, such as the proper size fuel pump and one magneto and a certain size tire and a certain size gear in the rear end of the differential to slow them down and keep them at a minimal speed. But as a racer would do, he'll figure some way to go faster with existing parts, and that's exactly what took place here. And Steve was sharing some thoughts here about what he would want to do with making some changes there. Of course, the sanctioning bodies, as I mentioned, decided that brakes was the answer. But it's quite an expensive endeavor, as I said. You're looking at possibly $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 investment for some of these guys, and the intent wasn't that when it first started out. But there again, they'd rather put the horsepower in the motor and go fast. So apparently, there's money there. So I guess that's what they thought. So they went ahead and applied this rule for the up and coming events for this year. With that being said, Steve had some ideas also about utilization of what the term would be a restrictor plate underneath the injector, and they would be supplied by any of the sanctioning bodies, and they would be applied at the time that the racer showed up at the event and then taken off and given back to the sanctioning body when they left the track. Several things have gone on this week. I mentioned a little bit about it last week, that in the ranks of Carroll Shelby Enterprises, one of their many engine distributors and car distributors for Carroll Shelby Enterprises is a gentleman by the name of Bill Dembesti here on the West Coast, and he has opted to take his car show on the road, and his first event that he attended in behalf of Shelby Enterprises was at the Shelby facility there in Las Vegas, and that was last week. And in his presentation of what his collection was, and all of those who are with Shelby pretty much had the opportunity for the first time to see a new product that's going to be entering into the marketplace, which is a Hemi-headed Ford engine, basically provided by Bill Dembesti. He has the exclusive for Shelby products there with the Hemi-headed Ford engine, and also and it's Carroll Shelby label, so it's a Shelby label product. And those hot rodders that are listening, it's available to you. If you don't want the Shelby logo on it, or you want to buy another engine it's through Bill Dembesti. He would be the guy that you'd want to talk to, and it's called Dembesti Motorsports. And I thought I'd give old Bill a plug here because he's kind of been very instrumental in initiating a real neat program. And he's contracted Arius Industries as being involved with part of that program, which Arius will provide quite a few of the engine components for Dembesti Motorsports to put these engines together. And there again, Bill Dembesti basically contracted also a premier engine builder, Lenny Travs of LTR Race Engines there in Onyx, California, who has built NASCAR engines for NASCAR West when that circuit was running out here on the West Coast. And that in itself says enough to know that when you get a Dembesti engine, you're going to find the quality in that motor. Because they're all basically assembled, hand-assembled, and dyno-tuned. And I will say that when I say dyno-tuned, they are dyno-tuned. It will be a 427 cubic inch motor. I know that some of the like components that are found on the LS Hemi Chevrolet, there's ongoing testing there, again, by LTR Race Engines as well, in behalf of various industries. And for a small cubic inch motor, basically a 403 cubic inch motor, we're already looking right at 700 horsepower. And they haven't even started doing what you normally do when you test for parts such as the induction, which is meaning to you anything that's on and top of the manifold, whether it be a fuel injection system or multiple carburetors such as a tri-power or dual quads or single quad or a throttle body or whatever. They're just beginning to touch on these things. And again, 4 horsepower, there you go. You need to play around with the camshafts. At least that's what the racers do. So anyway, you start changing cams and to see what you can get out of them. But just for a street rod and a driver on the street, I perused some of the magazines that are out there, and they showed pretty much Corvette with basically a Charger on it made by, I think, Magnuson, and that was 660 horse supercharged. And here, this thing is normally aspirated, and it's 700 horse already. So there's quite an array of things that you can do. But there again, it's a Hemi-headed Ford through Dembesti, or you can get the Chevrolet also through Arius as well.